Admiral Tejo stood on the bridge of the human battleship Iron Will. Through the large window, he could see the stars of the Kepler system. Thousands of ships floated in formation around him. Human ships. Valari ships. They were allies. They were friends. At least, that is what Tejo believed. The war against the Keth Empire had lasted for 3 long years. The Keth were a brutal race. They conquered planets and enslaved entire species. When they came for human space, humanity had no choice but to fight. But humans were new to the galaxy. Their ships were fewer. Their weapons were weaker. They needed help. The Valari offered that help. The Valari were an old race. They had tall, thin bodies covered in silver skin. Their eyes were large and purple. They spoke softly and moved with grace. They called themselves the wise ones of the galaxy. They said they believed in peace and justice. When the Keth attacked humanity, the Valari came forward. "We will stand with you," the Valari High Council had promised. "Together, we will defeat this evil." Tejo had believed them. Every human had believed them. Now, in the Kepler system, the final battle was about to begin. Intelligence reports said the Keth were sending their main fleet. Over 2,000 warships. It would be the largest battle in galactic history. If humanity and the Valari won here, the war would end. The Keth Empire would fall. Tejo looked at his tactical display. The human fleet had 500 ships. The Valari fleet had 800. Together, they had 1,300 vessels against 2,000. The odds were not good, but they had planned carefully. The Valari would hold the left side. Humans would hold the right. When the Keth attacked, both fleets would squeeze them from 2 directions. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Su Min from her station. She was young, only 25 years old, but she was one of the best officers Tejo had ever trained. "The Keth fleet has entered the system. They will reach us in 40 minutes. Tejo nodded. His heart was beating fast, but his face showed nothing. A leader must never show fear. "Send a message to all ships," he said. "Tell them to prepare for battle. Today, we end this war." The message went out. Across the human fleet, 80,000 men and women prepared to fight. They checked their weapons. They said prayers. Some wrote final letters to their families back on Earth. They were scared, but they were ready. Tejo opened a channel to the Valari flagship. The Silver Dawn. On his screen appeared the face of High Commander Loris, the leader of the Valari fleet. Loris had the same silver skin and purple eyes as all Valari. He smiled when he saw Tejo. "Admiral Tejo," Loris said in his soft voice. "The moment has come. Are your people ready?" "We are ready," Tejo replied. "Are you?" "The Valari are always ready to fight for justice," Loris said. "Today, we write history together." Tejo felt a small warmth in his chest. Despite everything, despite the fear and the danger, he was glad to have the Valari as allies. Humanity was not alone in this fight. The minutes passed slowly. Tejo watched the tactical display as the red dots of the Keth fleet grew closer. His officers worked quietly at their stations. The only sounds were the soft beeps of machines and the hum of the ship's engines. Then the Keth arrived. 2,000 warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. They filled the space ahead like a swarm of angry insects. Each ship was black and covered in sharp edges. The Keth built their vessels to look frightening, and they succeeded. "All ships, engage," Tejo commanded. The battle began. Human ships surged forward. Missiles flew through the void. Laser beams cut across the darkness. The first Keth ships exploded in balls of fire. But the Keth fired back. Their weapons were powerful. A human cruiser broke apart. Then another. Then 3 more. Tejo gripped the railing on his bridge. This was war. This was the price of freedom. Where are the Valari? asked Commander Jinho, Taeho's second-in-command. He was a large man with a scar across his chin. He had fought in every major battle of the war. Taeho looked at the tactical display. The Valari fleet was supposed to attack from the left. They were supposed to squeeze the Keth between two forces. But the Valari ships were not moving. Contact the Silver Dawn. Taeho ordered. Su-Min worked at her station. Her face grew pale. Admiral, they are not responding. A cold feeling spread through Taeho's body. He looked at the display again. The Valari fleet was turning. Not toward the Keth, away from them. No, Taeho whispered. The Valari ships began to accelerate. 800 vessels moved as one, pulling away from the battle. They were leaving. They were running. Admiral, Jinho shouted. The Valari are retreating. Taeho could not believe what he was seeing. This was impossible. The Valari were their allies. They had promised to fight together. They had given their word. Get me High Commander Loris. Taeho roared. After a long moment, Loris's face appeared on the screen. He was no longer smiling. Admiral Taeho, Loris said calmly. I am sorry. What are you doing? Taeho demanded. We had a plan. Your ships were supposed to attack. The plan has changed, Loris replied. The Valari High Council has decided that this battle cannot be won. We have made other arrangements. Other arrangements? Taeho's voice was shaking with anger. You are leaving us to die. You must understand, Admiral. The Valari are an ancient race. We have survived for 10,000 years by making wise choices. This is a wise choice. This is betrayal. Loris's purple eyes showed no emotion. It is survival. The Keth have agreed to spare us if we withdraw. Your species is young. You will fight bravely and take many Keth with you. Your sacrifice will weaken them. In time, perhaps the galaxy will thank you. Taeho felt like he had been stabbed in the heart. The Valari had sold humanity to save themselves. They had used humans as bait. Every promise, every word of friendship, every talk of justice, it was all lies. You will pay for this, Taeho said quietly. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one day, humanity will remember what you did. Loris tilted his head. Perhaps, but you will not live to see it. Goodbye, Admiral. The screen went dark around the Iron Will. The battle raged. Human ships fought desperately against the Keth swarm. Without the Valari, they were badly outnumbered. Ships died by the dozen. Fire and metal filled the void. Admiral, what do we do? Su-Min asked. Her eyes were wet with tears, but her voice was steady. Taeho looked at his crew. These brave men and women had trusted him. They had followed him into battle. Now they would die because of Valari treachery, but they would not die running. We fight, Taeho said. We fight until the end. And we make sure the Keth remember what humans can do. The human fleet reformed around the Iron Will. They could not win. They knew that now. But they could hurt the enemy. They could make the Keth bleed for every human life. For hours, the battle continued. Human ships performed incredible acts of bravery. A destroyer called the Braveheart, commanded by Captain Yunbai, flew directly into a Keth command ship. Both vessels exploded together. A carrier named Hope of Earth launched all its fighters even as it burned, giving its pilots time to strike at the enemy before the carrier broke apart. Taeho watched his fleet die. He watched his friends die. He watched 80,000 of humanity's best soldiers give their lives. But they took many Keth with them. By the end, only a handful of human ships remained. The Iron Will was badly damaged. Fires burned on 3 decks. Half the crew was dead. Taeho sat in his captain's chair. Blood ran down his face from a wound on his forehead. Jinho lay dead on the floor beside him. Su Min was still at her station, still working, still fighting. "Admiral," she said weakly, "the last of the fleet has fallen. We are alone." Taeho nodded. The Keth ships surrounded them now. There was no escape, but then something strange happened. The Keth stopped firing. A message came through. It was from the Keth commander. "Human vessel," the Keth said. "You have fought well. Better than any race we have ever faced. Your allies abandoned you, yet you did not run. Why?" Taeho thought about the question. His body was tired. His heart was broken. But his spirit was not. "Because we are human," he said. "We do not abandon our own. We do not betray our friends. And we do not surrender to those who would enslave us." There was a long silence. "Go," the Keth commander said finally. "Take your wounded ship and go. Tell your people what happened here. Tell them that the Keth respect courage, even in enemies." Taeho could not believe it. "You are letting us leave? You have earned it. But know this, human. We will come for your world soon. When we do, you will fall like all the others." The channel closed. Su-Min set a course for Earth. The broken iron will limped into faster-than-light travel, leaving behind the graves of 80,000 heroes. In his quarters that night, Taeho wrote a report. He described everything. The battle, the betrayal, the death, and he wrote a promise. The Valari call themselves the Wise Ones. They think they have won. They think humanity is finished. They are wrong. We will survive the Keth. We will rebuild. We will grow stronger. And one day, we will find the Valari. We will find them, and we will take everything they own. This I swear on the blood of every soldier who died at Kepler Station. Taeho signed the report and sent it to Earth Command. Then he closed his eyes and let the tears come. The war with the Keth was not over. But another war had just begun. A war that would take time. A war that required patience. A war that humanity would fight in silence and shadow. The Valari had betrayed them. 20 years had passed since the Battle of Kepler Station. Commander Yuna stood at the window of her office on Luna Base, looking down at Earth. The blue planet turned slowly below her, beautiful and peaceful. It was hard to believe that 2 decades ago, humanity had almost lost everything. The war with the Keth had ended 5 years after Kepler. Without the Valari, humans had been forced to fight alone. They lost battle after battle. Colony after colony fell. Millions died. The Keth pushed humanity back to their home system, to Earth itself. But then something changed. The Keth Empire began to fall apart. The battle at Kepler Station had hurt them more than anyone knew. The human fleet had destroyed over 600 Keth warships before being wiped out. This weakened the Keth military. Other races they had conquered saw their chance and began to rebel. Within 3 years, the Keth Empire collapsed into civil war. Humanity survived. Barely. Now, 20 years later, humans were rebuilding. The population was growing again. New ships were being built. New technologies were being developed. And everyone remembered what the Valari had done. Yuna remembered better than most. She had been a young girl when her father, Lieutenant Park Jin-seo, died at Kepler Station. He had served on the destroyer Brave Heart, the ship that rammed the Keth command vessel. She grew up without a father because of Valari betrayal. That memory drove her every day. A knock came at her door. "Enter," Yuna said. The door opened and a tall man walked in. He wore a simple gray uniform with no markings. His name was Dong-wook, and he was one of the most important people in humanity's government. But very few people knew he existed. "Commander," Dong-wook said with a small bow, "the council is ready for your report." Yuna nodded and followed him out. They walked through the corridors of Luna Base. The base was large. covering many kilometers under the moon's surface. Officially, it was a research station. Unofficially, it was the headquarters of the Reconstruction Project, humanity's secret plan to prepare for the future. They entered an elevator that went deep underground. When the doors opened, they stepped into a massive chamber carved from the lunar rock. In the center of the chamber was a round table. Around the table sat 12 people, the Shadow Council. These 12 controlled everything that mattered. They were generals, scientists, economists, and spies. They answered to no one except the goal they all shared, making humanity strong enough to never be betrayed again. Admiral Tejo sat at the head of the table. He was old now, his hair white and his face lined with age. But his eyes were still sharp. He had survived Kepler Station, and he had dedicated the rest of his life to preparing humanity for revenge. "Commander Yuna," Tejo said, "please, give us your report." Yuna stood before the council. She took a deep breath. "The Valari believe they are safe," she began. "They think humanity has forgotten what they did. They think we are weak and broken. They are wrong on all counts." She pressed a button, and a hologram appeared above the table. It showed the galaxy, with human space highlighted in blue and Valari space in silver. "For the past 20 years, we have worked in secret. We have built ships in hidden shipyards. We have trained soldiers in underground bases. We have developed new weapons that no one knows about. The Valari have spies among us, but we have fed them only lies." The council members nodded. They knew all this. But it was important to review the facts. "The Valari Empire is large," Yuna continued. "They control over 200 star systems. They have colonies on thousands of worlds. Their economy is strong. Their technology is advanced. On the surface, they seem impossible to defeat." She changed the hologram. Now it showed detailed information about Valari military forces. "But we have found weaknesses. The Valari are old. They are comfortable. They have not fought a real war in centuries. Their military is small because they rely on diplomacy and manipulation. They use other races to fight for them. When those races lose, the Valari simply find new allies. Like they did with us," said General Miyung, a fierce woman with short gray hair. She commanded all of humanity's ground forces. "Exactly," Yuna said. "The Valari see themselves as the wise rulers of the galaxy. They believe they can talk their way out of any problem. They believe no one would dare attack them directly." "And the other races?" asked Dr. Sanghoon, the head of the science division. He was a quiet man with thick glasses. "How do they view the Valari?" "That is interesting," Yuna replied. "We have been sending agents to other systems, talking to other species. Many of them hate the Valari. The Valari have manipulated and betrayed dozens of races over the centuries. But everyone is afraid to act. They believe the Valari are too powerful. They need someone to go first," Tejo said quietly. "They need someone to prove that the Valari can be beaten." "Yes, Admiral. And that someone will be us." Yuna changed the hologram again. Now it showed human space in much more detail. Hidden among the normal colonies and stations were red dot secret facilities that no one outside this room knew about. "In 20 years, we have built a fleet of 3,000 warships. Our new battle cruisers are faster and stronger than anything the Valari have. Our weapons can break through their shields. Our soldiers are trained for every type of combat. We are ready." The council was silent for a moment. 3,000 ships. It was an incredible achievement, built in total secrecy while humanity pretended to be weak. "What about the public?" asked Minister Hanul, who handled civilian affairs. "The people do not know about any of this. How will they react?" "We have prepared for that," Yuna said. "When the time comes, we will reveal everything. The people of Earth will learn how the Valari betrayed us. They will learn how their government worked in secret to protect them. And they will support the war. You are certain? Hanno asked Yun a thought about her father. She thought about the 80,000 who died at Kepler Station. She thought about every family that lost someone because the Volari ran away. I am certain, she said. Humanity does not forget. After the meeting, Yuna walked with Tejo through the underground corridors. The old admiral moved slowly, but his mind was still fast. You did well in there, Tejo said. You speak with passion. The council listens to you. I learn from you, Admiral. Tejo smiled sadly. I will not live to see the end of this. I am too old. But you will. You will lead our forces when the time comes. I will not let you down, sir. They stopped at a large window. Beyond the glass was a massive cavern filled with ships. Battlecruisers, carriers, destroyers, row after row of vessels. Each one painted black and marked with the symbol of the Human Defense Force. It was a secret armada, hidden beneath the moon. 20 years, Tejo said. 20 years of silence. 20 years of smiling at Volari diplomats while we sharpened our knives. It has been hard. It has, Yuna agreed. But it will be worth it. The Volari came to Earth last month. Did you know that? Yuna nodded. She had seen the reports. A Volari diplomatic ship had visited Earth, bringing gifts and kind words. The Volari ambassador had spoken about friendship and cooperation. He had said that the past was the past, that it was time to move forward together. The human government had smiled and accepted the gifts. They had shaken hands and made polite speeches. And all the while, beneath their feet, the secret fleet grew larger. They still think they won, Tejo said. They still think they were clever. They have no idea what is coming. No, Yuna said. They do not. In the years that followed, Yuna rose through the ranks. She became the youngest fleet admiral in human history. She trained crews, tested weapons, and planned strategies. She studied every piece of information about the Volari, their history, their culture, their weaknesses. The Volari continued to live in comfort. They traded with dozens of races. They hosted grand festivals. They built beautiful cities on beautiful worlds. They had everything. Humanity watched and waited. Spies sent reports from Volari space. They told of rich planets covered in farms and factories. They described massive shipyards floating in orbit around Volari worlds. They counted the wealth of an empire that had grown fat and lazy over 10,000 years. All of it would soon belong to humanity. In secret meetings, the Shadow Council made plans. They divided the Volari Empire into sections. Each section would be seized by a different fleet. The attacks would come simultaneously, giving the Volari no time to organize a defense. We are not going to destroy them, Tejo explained at one meeting. Destruction is wasteful. We are going to take everything they have. Their planets, their resources, their technology, their wealth. All of it? And the Volari people? Someone asked. They will become workers, Tejo said coldly. They will serve humanity, just as they once expected us to die for them. They will learn what it means to be on the other side of betrayal. Some members of the council looked uncomfortable, but no one argued. The memory of Kepler Station was too strong. Meanwhile, the public face of humanity remained peaceful. Human merchants traveled to Volari worlds to trade. Human tourists visited Volari cities to see the sights. Human diplomats attended Volari conferences to discuss cooperation. And every single one of them was gathering information. They mapped Volari defense systems. They identified important facilities. They noted which worlds were most valuable. They learned the schedules of Volari patrols. All of this information flowed back to Luna Base, where Yuna and her staff turned it into battle plans. The Valari noticed nothing. The galaxy was about to change forever. Fleet Admiral Una stood on the bridge of the Reckoning, the largest warship humanity had ever built. Around her, officers worked quietly at their stations. The air was thick with tension and excitement. After 20 years of hiding, humanity was ready to show its true face. Through the viewport, Una could see the human fleet. 3,000 warships hung in the darkness of space. Battlecruisers with guns that could crack open moons. Carriers filled with thousands of fighters. Destroyers fast enough to hunt down any enemy. Troop transports carrying millions of soldiers dot. It was a force that could shake the foundations of the galaxy. "Admiral," said Captain J1, her second in command. He was a serious man with a calm voice. "All fleets report ready. We are in position." Una nodded. The human armada had been divided into 12 battle groups. Each group was positioned near a different Valari system, hidden in deep space where sensors could not find them. They had traveled for days in complete radio silence, moving like ghosts through the void. Now they waited for the signal. "Open a channel to all ships," Una ordered, "and prepare to broadcast to the entire galaxy." "Yes, Admiral." Una straightened her uniform and stood before the main camera. In a few moments, her face would appear on screens across human space. Her words would be recorded and sent to every corner of the galaxy. This was the moment that history would remember. "This is Fleet Admiral Park Una of the Human Defense Force," she began. "I speak to all of humanity and to all the races of the galaxy who are listening." Her voice was steady and strong. 21 years ago, at the Battle of Kepler Station, humanity stood beside the Valari to fight against tyranny. We honored our alliance. We kept our promises. We were ready to die for our friends. She paused, letting the words sink in. The Valari were not. When the battle began, they ran. They left 80,000 human soldiers to die. They betrayed us in our darkest hour. They thought we would be destroyed. They were wrong. Across human space, billions of people watched their screens. Many of them remembered Kepler Station. Many had lost family there. They listened with tears in their eyes. For 20 years, we have been silent. We smiled at Valari diplomats. We accepted their gifts. We pretended to be weak. But we were never weak. We were preparing. The camera pulled back to show the bridge of the reckoning behind her. Today, humanity reveals its true strength. We have built a fleet larger than any in galactic history. We have weapons that no one has seen before. We have soldiers trained for this exact moment. Her eyes grew cold. To the Valari, I have this message. You thought you were clever. You thought you could betray us and face no consequences. You thought wrong. We are coming for you. Not to destroy you. That would be too quick. We are coming to take everything you own. Your planets. Your ships. Your wealth. All of it. You will pay for Kepler Station with everything you have. She leaned forward slightly. To the other races of the galaxy, I say this. The Valari have betrayed many of you. They have manipulated you. They have used you. Today, their power ends. Watch what humans can do. Watch and remember. She stood straight again. The age of Valari superiority is over. The age of human reckoning has begun. She made a cutting motion with her hand. The broadcast ended. Send the signal, Una ordered. All fleets, begin the attack. Across the galaxy, 12 battle groups received the command. 3,000 warships moved as one. They emerged from hiding and jumped toward their targets. The largest military operation in galactic history had begun. On the Valari homeworld of Velar Prime, High Commander Loris was enjoying his evening meal when the first reports arrived. Loris was old now, even older than he had been at Kepler Station. His silver skin had grown pale with age. But he was still the highest military commander of the Valari Empire. He still held great power. A young officer ran into his dying chamber, his purple eyes wide with fear. "Hi, Commander!" Urgent message from the outer colonies. Loris frowned. "What is it?" "Ships, sir." Human ships. Thousands of them. They appeared at Velar 7 and began attacking. "Our defenses are falling. We cannot stop them." Loris dropped his fork. For a moment, he could not speak. Human ships? Thousands? That was impossible. Humanity barely had 100 vessels. They were weak. They were broken. His communication device buzzed. Then again, and again, report after report flooded in. Human fleets had appeared at a dozen systems simultaneously. They were attacking shipyards, military bases, and orbital stations. Valari ships tried to fight back, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Human weapons tore through their shields like paper. "This cannot be happening," Loris whispered, but it was happening. All around the Valari Empire, chaos erupted. At the mining colony of Velar 12. Admiral Soong led his battle group against the orbital defenses. The Valari had only 50 ships guarding the system. Soong had 200. The battle lasted less than an hour. Human weapons fired bolts of energy that burned through Valari armor. Human missiles streaked through space faster than Valari point defenses could track. When it was over, every Valari ship had been destroyed or captured. Admiral Soong looked at the planet below. It was covered in mines and processing plants that extracted valuable metals from the ground. The metals were used to build Valari ships and technology. "Send a message to the surface," Soong ordered. "Tell them to surrender immediately. If they cooperate, no one will be harmed. If they resist, we will take the planet by force." The message went out. Within minutes, the governor of Velar 12 sent his reply. He was surrendering. The planet was theirs. At the agricultural world of Velar 9, Captain Bauer led her marines in a ground assault. Her dropships fell from the sky like metal rain. 20,000 human soldiers poured onto the surface. The Valari defenders fought, but they were not warriors. They were farmers and administrators. They had never trained for real combat. Human marines advanced through their lines with brutal efficiency. Baora walked through the main city as her troops secured buildings. The Valari civilians watched from their windows with terrified eyes. They had never seen humans like this, not weak merchants or friendly tourists, but armored soldiers carrying weapons that could kill in an instant. "Do not harm the civilians," Bayora ordered her troops. "Our orders are to seize, not to slaughter. Anyone who surrenders is to be treated as a prisoner. Anyone who resists is to be neutralized. No exceptions." Her soldiers obeyed. They were disciplined. They followed orders. But they also remembered Kepler Station. When they looked at the Valari, they saw the faces of those who had betrayed their ancestors. Across the galaxy, system after system fell to human forces. The speed of the attack was overwhelming. The Valari had no time to organize a defense. By the time their High Council understood what was happening, a third of their empire was already in human hands. On Velar Prime, Loris desperately tried to coordinate a response. He sent orders to every remaining fleet. He called up reserves. He demanded that allied races send help, but the allied races did not answer. They watched from their own systems as humanity tore apart the Valari Empire. Some were glad to see the Valari fall. Others were simply afraid. No one wanted to stand in humanity's path. "We must negotiate," said one of the council members. "We must talk to the humans. Offer them territory, resources, anything." "They do not want to negotiate," Loris said quietly. He remembered his last conversation with Admiral Taiho 21 years ago. The human admiral had promised that one day humanity would find the Valari. That day had arrived, A new message appeared on Loris's screen. It was from Fleet Admiral Una. "Hi, Commander Loris," the message read. "You are the one who ordered the retreat at Kepler Station. You are the one who left humanity to die. I want you to know that this is personal. We are coming for your homeworld. You have 48 hours. Use them well." Loris stared at the message. His hands were shaking. "Mobilize everything," he ordered. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon. We will make our stand at Vela Prime." For 2 days, the Valari worked desperately to prepare their defense. They gathered 300 warships from across the Empire, every vessel that could reach the homeworld in time. They armed civilian craft and added them to the fleet. They activated ancient defense systems that had not been used in centuries. When the human fleet arrived, they were waiting. Fleet Admiral Una looked at the Valari defenses and smiled. "Impressive," she said. "They gathered everything they could. It still will not be enough." The human fleet numbered 500 ships, the best and largest vessels in the Armada. Una had chosen them specifically for this battle. The rest of the fleet was busy securing other systems. But here at Vela Prime, she would accept a Valari surrender personally. "All ships advance," Una ordered. "Destroy military targets only. I want their civilian population unharmed. They will be workers, not corpses." The battle for Vela Prime began. Valari ships fired desperately at the human fleet. Their weapons were good, but human shields held strong. Human ships returned fire with overwhelming force. The black void of space lit up with explosions. The Valari fought bravely. Perhaps the first real courage they had shown in centuries. But bravery was not. The war was over in 6 weeks. But the real work was just beginning. Captain Hannah stepped off her shuttle onto the surface of Vela 15, a rich industrial world that had once been the heart of Valari manufacturing. The air smelled of smoke and metal. In the distance, she could see the towers of factories rising. Against a purple sky. Everything here now belonged to humanity. Hannah was 32 years old, with short black hair and a scar on her left cheek from a training accident. She had been a soldier for 10 years, but now she had a new job. She was an administrator, one of thousands of human officers assigned to manage the conquered Valari territories. "Captain Hannah," said Lieutenant Min, her assistant, as he walked beside her. "The local governor is waiting for you." "Good. Let us not keep him waiting." They walked through the streets of the capital city. Valari civilians watched from doorways and windows. Their large purple eyes followed every step the humans took. There was fear in those eyes. Fear and confusion. 20 years ago, humans had been weak visitors to the galaxy. Now they were the rulers. At the government building, a group of Valari officials stood in a line. At their head was Governor Tullis, an elderly Valari with silver skin that had turned almost white with age. He bowed deeply as Hannah approached. "Captain Hannah," Tullis said in his soft voice, "welcome to Vela 15. I am ready to serve the new administration." Hannah looked at him coolly. She knew that this same governor had sent food and supplies to Valari forces during the war. He had called humans primitive animals in his speeches. Now he was bowing and calling himself ready to serve. "Governor Tullis," Hannah said, "from this moment, you are no longer governor. You are a coordinator. You will help manage the transition to human rule. You will follow my orders exactly. If you serve well, you will be treated fairly. If you resist or lie, you will be punished. Do you understand?" Tullis's face showed a flash of something anger, perhaps, or shame. But he buried it quickly. "I understand, Captain." "Good. Now show me the factories." For the next several hours, Hannah toured the industrial complexes of Vela 15. The factories were impressive. They produced ship components, weapons, electronics, and hundreds of other products. Thousands of Velari workers operated the machines. Before the war, all of this production had served the Velari Empire. The wealth it created had made the Velari rich and powerful. Now, every single piece would belong to humanity. Production will continue, Hana told the factory managers. But output will be increased by 50%. We need these materials for our own fleet and our own colonies. One of the managers, a younger Velari named Cerise, spoke up. Captain, our workers already work long hours. Increasing production will require more workers. Hana finished. I know. You will train more Velari. You will add shifts. You will meet the quota. This is not a request. Cerise looked like he wanted to argue, but he saw the soldiers standing behind Hana. He bowed his head. Yes, Captain. This scene repeated itself across the Velari Empire. On every conquered world, human administrators took control. They seized factories, mines, farms, and shipyards. They counted every resource, every piece of equipment, every item of value. Nothing escaped their attention. The operation was planned down to the smallest detail. Before the war, human spies had gathered information on every part of the Velari economy. They knew which worlds produced food. They knew which worlds had rare minerals. They knew where the Velari kept their wealth. Now, human forces moved systematically to secure it all. On Velar 7, Commander Jihoon led the seizure of the Imperial Treasury. The treasury was a massive underground vault filled with precious metals, rare crystals, and ancient artifacts collected over 10,000 years. Open the main vault. Jihoon ordered the Velari Bank officials. Commander, those vaults have been sealed for centuries, one official protested. Only the High Council has the codes. Jihoon smiled. The High Council is in human custody. They gave us the codes this morning. He turned to his soldiers. Open it. The vault doors swung open. Inside was more wealth than Jihoon had ever seen. Mountains of gold and silver. Containers filled with diamonds and jewels. Ancient Velari artwork that was thousands of years old. All of it was now property of the Human Defense Force. Begin cataloging everything, Jihoon ordered. Every piece, every coin, every artifact. Nothing leaves without my approval. On Velar 3, General Mi Young personally led the capture of the main Velari shipyard. It was the largest shipyard in the Empire, capable of building 12 battleships at once. 20 Velari warships were still under construction when human forces arrived. Do not destroy anything, Mi Young ordered her troops. Those ships will soon carry human crews. The Velari shipyard workers were kept at their posts. They continued building ships, but now they were building them for their conquerors. Human engineers studied their technology, learning the secrets that had made Velari vessels powerful. Their shield generators are different from ours, one human engineer reported to Mi Young. More efficient. We can integrate this technology into our own ships. Good, Mi Young said. Copy everything. Learn everything. We spent 20 years preparing for war. Now we spend the next 20 years improving everything we captured. Not all Velari accepted their fate quietly. On Velar 11, a group of former soldiers tried to organize a resistance. They gathered weapons and planned attacks on human supply lines. Captain Hana received the report at her headquarters on Velar 15. Rebels on Velar 11, she said, reading the message. About 500 fighters. They have some weapons and local support. How should we respond, Captain? Asked Lieutenant Min. Ha thought for a moment. The human occupation depended on maintaining order. If resistance movements spread, it could become very difficult to hold the empire. But crushing the rebels with overwhelming force might create martyrs and inspire more resistance. We will be precise, Hana decided. Send a special operations team. Find the leaders. Remove them. Do not harm civilians or damage infrastructure. We are not here to destroy. We are here to possess. The operation on Velar 11 was quick and efficient. Human special forces moved through the night, using technology that the Volari could not detect. Within 3 days, every rebel leader was either dead or captured. The movement collapsed without its organizers. Similar operations happened across the Empire. Wherever resistance appeared, human forces dealt with it quietly and effectively. They did not announce their victories. They did not make threats. They simply removed problems and moved on. The message was clear. Resistance was pointless. As the weeks passed, a new order began to take shape. Human administrators replaced Volari governors. Human ships patrolled Volari space. Human soldiers walked Volari streets. The transformation was total. Fleet Admiral Una traveled from world to world, inspecting the occupation. Everywhere she went, she saw humanity taking control. On a farming planet, she watched as human ships loaded grain that would feed human colonies. On a mining world, she visited deep tunnels where Volari workers extracted metals under human supervision. On an industrial planet, she toured factories now producing components for the growing human fleet. We are not just taking their things, Una explained to her staff. We are taking their ability to ever threaten us again. Without their factories, they cannot build weapons. Without their farms, they cannot feed an army. Without their wealth, they cannot hire allies. They are completely dependent on us now. One evening, Una received a visit from an unexpected guest. It was Ambassador Krell, a representative of the Tauric Collective, a minor race that had once been allied with the Volari. Fleet Admiral, Krell said nervously. The Tauric were small creatures with blue skin and 4 arms. They had helped the Volari in various conflicts over the centuries. I come with a message from my government. Speak, Una said. The Tauric Collective wants to establish good relations with humanity. We were allies of the Volari, yes, but we did not participate in the betrayal at Kepler Station. We do not wish to be considered enemies. Una studied the ambassador. She knew that the Tauric had provided ships and supplies to the Volari for generations. They had benefited greatly from Volari power. Now that power was gone, and they were scared. The Tauric are not our enemies, Una said carefully. But they were not our friends either. Your people profited from Volari schemes for centuries. You knew what they were. You helped them anyway. Krell's blue skin turned slightly pale. We had no choice. The Volari were powerful. We could not refuse them. I understand. And now you are here because humanity is powerful. You want to make sure you are on the winning side. The ambassador said nothing. Both of them knew the truth. Here is what will happen, Una continued. The Tauric will open trade with humanity. You will sell us resources at fair prices. You will not help any Volari resistance movements. In return, we will leave your worlds alone. This is a good deal. I suggest you take it. We accept, Krell said quickly. Similar conversations happened with dozens of minor races. They came to humanity one by one, offering friendship and cooperation. They had watched the Volari fall in weeks. They had seen what human forces could do. None of them wanted to be next. The galaxy was reorganizing itself around a new power. On Velar Prime, the former heart of the Empire, Captain Buora commanded the largest occupation force. She had 50,000 soldiers managing a planet of 8 billion VLARI.55. Years had passed since the conquest. General Park. They stood on the balcony of the former Imperial Palace on Velar Prime. Below him, the great plaza stretched out like a sea of silver stone. Once, Volari emperors had addressed their subjects from this spot. Now, a human general owned everything the eye could see. Day was 53 years old. He had served in the military for 30 years, rising from a simple soldier to the highest rank in the Human Defense Force. He had fought in the final battle of Kepler Station as a young private. He had survived the slaughter when the Valari fled. Now he was the military governor of the entire Valari sector. Today was a special day, the day that the new order would be officially established. Behind him, officers and administrators prepared for the ceremony. Cameras were positioned to broadcast across the galaxy. Representatives from dozens of alien races waited in the audience. And in a small chamber beneath the balcony, the last Valari Emperor waited to play his final role. "General," said Colonel Hyjin, Dave's chief aide, "everything is ready. The Emperor has been prepared." "Good. Bring him out." The doors opened, and guards led Emperor Valorous onto the balcony. He was the direct descendant of 10,000 years of Valari rulers. His ancestors had built an empire that spanned hundreds of stars. They had been worshipped as gods by their people. Now Valorous wore simple gray clothes. His silver skin was dull. His purple eyes held no light. 5 years of imprisonment had broken his spirit. Day looked at the Emperor without emotion. He had no hatred for this particular Valari. Valorous had been young during the betrayal at Kepler Station, but he represented something that humanity needed to destroy. The idea that the Valari were superior. "Emperor Valorous," they said formally, "today you will address your former subjects. You will tell them that the Valari Empire is officially dissolved. You will acknowledge human rule over all Valari territories. You will order your people to accept the new order. Do you understand?" Valorous looked at him with empty eyes. "I understand." "Good. If you say anything else, anything that might encourage resistance, there will be consequences. Not for you. You are already broken. But your family, your advisors, everyone you care about. Think carefully before you speak." The Emperor nodded. He had learned in the past 5 years that humans meant what they said. The ceremony began. Cameras activated. Across the former Valari Empire, billions of Valari watched their screens. Across the galaxy, other races watched as well. Everyone wanted to see what humanity would do with their victory. General Day stepped to the front of the balcony. He stood straight and tall, his medals gleaming in the sunlight. "People of the galaxy," he began. 26 years ago, at the Battle of Kepler Station, the Valari betrayed humanity. They left our soldiers to die. They thought this made them clever. They thought this made them safe. He let the words hang in the air. They were wrong. Behind him, a massive hologram appeared. It showed images of the conquest human fleets destroying Valari defenses, human soldiers marching through Valari cities, human flags rising over Valari worlds. The message was clear. This was what happened to traitors. For 5 years, we have administered Valari territory. We have seized their factories, their farms, their mines. We have taken their ships, their technology, their wealth. Everything they built over 10,000 years now belongs to humanity. He turned to look at the Emperor. Today, we make this permanent. The Valari Empire is no more. It will never return. The Valari people will live under human authority from this day until the stars grow cold. Emperor Valorous was brought forward. His hand shook as he took his position before the cameras. I am Valorous, 37th Emperor of the Valari," he said in a weak voice. "I speak to my people one last time." He paused, gathering what little strength remained. "The Empire is ended. I dissolve the Imperial throne. I dissolve the High Council. I dissolve all claims of Valari sovereignty. From this moment, all Valari territories are under the permanent rule of the Human Defense Force." Tears ran down his silver face. "I order all Valari citizens to accept this new order. Do not resist. Do not rebel. The age of Velari glory is over. Accept this truth and live. Fight against it and die. He stepped back, his role completed. Guards led him away. He would spend the rest of his life in comfortable imprisonment, a living symbol of Velari defeat. General Day returned to the front of the balcony. "Let this be a lesson to the galaxy," he said. "Humanity does not forget. Humanity does not forgive. If you are our friend, we will protect you. If you are our enemy, we will defeat you. And if you betray us," he gestured at the conquered world around him, "we will take everything you own." The ceremony ended. The broadcast stopped. But the message continued to echo across the stars in the days that followed. The new order took shape. Human colonies were established on the best Velari worlds. Settlers arrived by the millions, building new cities alongside old ones. Human children grew up on planets that had been Velari for thousands of years. The Velari became a subject race. They were not enslaved. Humanity had decided that slavery was inefficient. Instead, they were workers. They labored in factories, farms, and mines. They paid taxes to human administrators. They followed human laws. They had limited rights, but enough to survive. Some accepted their fate quietly. The war had shown them that resistance was pointless. Better to live as workers than die as rebels. Others never accepted. They gathered in secret, whispered about freedom, dreamed of rebellion. But human intelligence was everywhere. Every meeting was monitored. Every plot was discovered. Leaders disappeared in the night, and their followers learned to stay silent. Fleet Admiral Una, now retired, visited Vila Prime one last time. She walked through the streets of the capital, watching humans and Velari go about their daily lives. It was a strange sight, two races living together, one as masters, one as subjects. She stopped at a small garden near the old imperial palace. A statue stood there, a memorial to the Battle of Kepler Station. Human soldiers had built it in the first year of the occupation. It showed 80,000 names carved in black stone. Una found her father's name, Park Jung-seo. "We did it, Father," she said quietly. "Everything you died for. Everything they took from us. We got it back and more." An old Velari was tending the garden nearby. He looked up at the human woman standing before the memorial. "You are Admiral Una," he said softly. "I recognize you from the broadcasts." Una turned to look at him. "And you are?" "My name is Cerise. I was a factory manager before the conquest. Now I tend this garden. The humans assigned me this job. Do you hate us?" Una asked. Cerise was quiet for a long moment. "I hated you at first. When your ships appeared and destroyed everything we built. When your soldiers walked through our streets like they owned them. I hated you more than I had ever hated anything. And now? Now I am tired. And I've had time to think." He looked at the memorial. "I was young during the Battle of Kepler Station. I did not understand what the High Council had done. When I learned the truth, that we had abandoned you to die, I was ashamed." He knelt down to tend the flower. "What you have done to us is terrible. You have taken everything. Our empire, our freedom, our pride. We are nothing now, but we earned it." The High Council made a choice. They thought humans were weak. They thought they could betray you without consequences. They were wrong. And now we all pay for their mistake. Una looked at the old Velari. There was no anger in her heart, only a cold satisfaction. "You are wise," she said. "Wiser than your leaders ever were." "Wisdom comes too late for my people," Cerise replied. "But perhaps it will come in time for others. Perhaps other races will look at the Velari and learn. Do not betray humans. Do not think they will forget." Una nodded slowly. "That is exactly the lesson we want the galaxy to learn." She left the garden and walked back to her shuttle. In a few hours, she would return to Earth, to her home. her family, her peaceful retirement. The war was over. The conquest was complete. Her work was done, but the new order would continue. Across the former Valari Empire, human administrators managed 200 star systems. Human ships patrolled Valari space. Human soldiers maintained order on Valari worlds. Human engineers operated Valari factories. Human farmers harvested Valari fields. And human historians wrote the story of what had happened in schools across human space. Children learned about the Battle of Kepler Station. They learned how the Valari had betrayed their ancestors. They learned how humanity had risen from near destruction to conquer an empire. The story became part of human identity, a reminder of what they could do when united. The Valari told a different story to their children. They spoke of the old days, when their people were powerful and proud. They whispered about the mistakes of their leaders and the price they had paid. Some told their children to accept human rule. Others told them to remember and wait. But waiting for what? The Valari had no ships, no weapons, no wealth. They had nothing except their memories. And memories could not fight against human power. 50 years passed. General Park Day was long dead. Fleet Admiral Yuna was long dead. All the leaders of the conquest had passed into history. But the system they created remained. Humanity had spread across the galaxy. They control